In this video, we're going to talk about the normal distribution and the normal curve and its properties. Data is distributed normally if it peaks in the middle, it's symmetric around the peak, the mean, median, and mode occur at the peak, and the distribution follows the 68%, 95%, 99.7% rule. Here are the statistics for the two countries that we talked about earlier, country A and country B. We took the 5-number summary and we made box and whisker plots for the two countries. The minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum will give us the distribution of the age at death for the two different countries. Another way that we can analyze our data is to tabulate the frequency of each age of death. For ease of recording, we have grouped the data into age categories. Next, we created bar graphs for each of the two countries, and then together in one bar graph so we can make some comparisons. We're now going to relate the bar graphs to the normal distribution. Here is the original histogram for country A. Here it is again, and the pink dots represent the tops of the bars, and the black line there represents a normal curve if it had the same standard deviation and the same mean as country A. Country A's distribution is said to be normal if its mean, median, and mode lie at the peak of the curve. Let's look at the original data again for country A. Its average age was 58.5, its mode was 57, and its median was 58. The mean, median, and mode for country A are almost the same and occur at the peak. Just a word of warning now. In country B, the average age of death was 64.5 years. The mode was 59 and the median was 65. It would appear that country B does not have a normal distribution. However, let's have a look at its graph. It appears that country B is also normally distributed based on the way the points lie on the curve. So why is it that the mode was so different? Let's have a look at the data again. The mode function in Excel will only calculate the first mode. Here's the data again in more detail, and you can see that there are actually 3 modes, 59, 61, and 62. By categorizing our data in groups of 5 years, it smooths out the curve and we can get a better idea of the distribution. So in country B, the age at death is normally distributed. Country A is also normally distributed. Next, we're going to see how the normal distribution, the standard deviation, and the 68%, 95%, 99.7% rule are related to each other. Go to the VLN content and find the video lessons page. Click on the 65%, 95%, 99.7% rule. Desmos will start to load normal distribution curve. You get some notes loading up right now on the side. This slider controls the average or the mean. Click here to hide the keypad. This slider, S, will control the standard deviation. The scary equation down here is actually the equation for the curve. I'm going to drag the slider so that the average is at 45 and the standard deviation is 5. When you have a normal distribution, 68% of your data will fall within one standard deviation, the mean. Click here to show the shading. Now adjust your slider back and forth to see the effect of the standard deviation on the shading. Notice that as the standard deviation gets larger, the top of the curve flattens because it needs to maintain a total area of 100% under the curve. Now turn off the 68% shading area and turn on the 95% one. Again, adjust the standard deviation slider and watch the effect on the normal distribution curve. 95% of your data will lie between 2 standard deviations below the mean and 2 standard deviations above the mean. In this case, when the standard deviation is 5, 95% of the people lie between 35 and 55. Now turn off the 95% shading. Instead, turn on the 99.7% shading. Nearly all of the data will lie between 3 standard deviations below the mean and 3 standard deviations above. Now I'll turn on all 3 shading areas so that you can see the difference between 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, and 3 standard deviations away from the mean. In summary then, a distribution is normal if it peaks in the middle, it is symmetric or balanced around the peak, the mean, median, and mode are at or near the peak, and the data obeys the 68, 95, and 99.7% rule. The standard deviation controls the shape of the normal curve to preserve the 68%, 95%, 99.7% rule. The curve will become tall and narrow, or short and wide, or somewhere in between, as long as the rule is obeyed.